Hi everyone, Xavier here. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to go over the last bit of the Blu-rays in the movie collection. So this is before we get to the 4Ks, which there's going to be a lot of 4Ks. There's going to be more parts in the 4K because more titles means I have to space out the categorization. With that said, let's get started. Now this is more or less a miscellaneous pile. There's going to I'm going obviously I'm going to have the chapters here, but I will basically try to say where we are right now. So first off, I want to get into the movie collections, in terms of complete collections of a series, which I don't have too many of. I only have actually just two. The first being the Austin Powers collection. Yeah, so I don't know if they're going to be upgraded to 4K. I love the Austin Powers films. In terms of I think that, it's like I would say my favorite would probably be the second one. The first and third kind of go in between of where I love or not. I think people hate the third one a bit too much. They're comedies. They all have their fun jokes. They all have their bad jokes. Um, and how it's set up is like you got the thin layer here, going over every movie, which I don't want to pull out and try to open up every one of them because it'll get a bit annoying. But overall, like the Austin Powers, trilogy, you can say it's a fun time. I know they were been trying to make a fourth movie for a long time, but I don't know if we're ever gonna get it. Regardless, they're comedy classics. Michael Myers, is fantastic as the titular character in Doctor Evil. Hopefully, one day we may get a fourth one, but other than that, at least have them upgrade to 4K because they're fun movies. Next up is the Lethal Weapon collection. This again, I hope they do a 4K of at least the first two movies. That's what I'll say. I don't think 3 and 4 are great. Like the first two movies are fantastic. I don't know about like 3. I actually think is the weakest one. It's so forgettable in my opinion. I don't remember anything from it. And 4 is a bit better. I think I remember the climax and Jet Li as the villain is interesting. But generally speaking, like the first two Lethal Weapons are like the best ones. Um, and I know I don't haven't seen the series, but yeah, I know that again they were talking about trying to make a fifth movie. Like Richard Donner before he died was trying to make a fifth movie. Now I heard Mel Gibson's trying to get it off the ground. I don't know if we'll ever see it. Regardless, though, I think they, Warner Bros. Should try to get these onto 4K because Lethal Weapon 1 and 2 are action, uh, you know, classics. And that's it for the full collection, Blu-rays. Next, I have two movie collections. So these are a bit awkward because they're just two movies. I will also have for the 4K section two movie collections. They're common practice. The first one I have to go over alphabetically. Yeah, this one's a doozy. The Little Mermaid sequel collection. So it contains the second movie, Return to Sea, and the third, the prequel, Ariel's Beginning. Why do I have this? I found it for a decent price, and as I mentioned a few videos ago, Disney sequels on Blu-ray cost a lot of money. I got this as a really decent price, $15. Now the funny thing is that this is actually used. It says it's DVD, but you open it and um, you know there's only the Blu-ray. I don't know what happened to the DVD. I'm pretty sure it was probably in the middle and then it fell off. But thankfully, if you can tell, both movies are on the Blu-ray, so you don't have to worry about that. I think even the special features are on both movies, so thank God this one Blu-ray has enough space. Um, and yeah, you might say, okay, then why the heck would I have it if it's like used and there's not even a DVD? Because even when used, it costed like 3 times as much as I paid for. Like I think it was still $50. That's the thing about these Disney like sequels on Blu-ray. They cost a lot of money for some reason. Particularly if you have slipcover or whatnot. As for what I think about these movies themselves, the second Little Mermaid has been very infamous for being very bad. And yeah, it's very generic kids movie. Strangely, this is Tara Strong's favorite like voice role, like as Melody. And as for the third movie, I actually kind of prefer a bit more than most of the Disney sequels. I think because of the animation and it was more charming. It has its issues. I think all the Disney sequels have their issues, but generally speaking, yeah, I didn't think these were terrible. And I mean, as you can see, and like in later in the collection series, I do have the original Little Mermaid. So yeah, I really like this series. I don't haven't seen the movie, the new live action one though. I don't like the live action films much. So there's that. Next up is a very odd two movie collection, and that is Office Space and Napoleon Dynamite. What's the correlation between these two movies? Yeah, I have no idea. They're not by the same people. It's by the same, not even by the same studio technically, because Office Space was Fox, and yes, Napoleon Dynamite is Fox, but it's also Fox Searchlight. Also, both movies are different rate. I don't know what is up with this collection, other than the idea that these are two cult classic comedies. I watched Office Space for the first time when I got this Blu-ray over a year ago, which I found cheap. And honestly, it was okay. Like I understood why people love it. I think it led to a lot of inspiration behind the series The Office, but I didn't really get clicked into it as much as a lot of people did. Napoleon Dynamite, of course, is a cult classic comedy. Which again, I don't think everyone would love. Like, I think that's the problem. Some of these movies are overhyped when you watch it. It's like, oh, it's not as, grand as you expect it to be. But I think Napoleon Dynamite is definitely like unique because it was this low budget independent movie that had, no idea how big it would have gotten, which was interesting. The last two movie collection I have is the Spongebob movie collection of the first two ones. I already talked about the last movie I had in the previous video, but these have the first two. Which I have said before, I think all these SpongeBob movies are about as equal in terms of like the rating. Also, Pipe is making noise again. Sorry about that. Hopefully, my voice overpowers it. Regardless, yeah, I think they're all equal in my opinion. The first movie, I know a lot of people keep saying, "Oh my God, it's great. It's like 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10." I personally never really like. Obviously, as a kid, I loved watching it, but over time, I'm like, this is like, it's not the best way to do a SpongeBob movie. Like the side cast was cut out a lot. I didn't like the idea of Plankton being the main villain. I always liked having a different person to be a villain. I think Plankton doesn't really work as a main threat. And as for the second movie, I mean, I don't like it. It's pretty meandering, and there's some cringe modern stuff. But other than that, I do like the let's did he you got the 2D animation, but also you get the 3D animation and the superhero thing. Antonio Banderas was fun. Oh yeah, I didn't like the seagulls. That was another thing I didn't like about the second movie. But I think they all have their pros and cons, and that's why I think the SpongeBob trilogy. I heard that they're going to do a fourth movie anyway, so it's not finished. But all the SpongeBob movies are, in terms of equal, like decent. Like they're good, but they have a lot of bad stuff for each movie. It's sort of a trade-out situation. So yeah, so those are the two movie collections. Next up, I will do the Steelbooks, which there's only got two of them. That's why this is a weird video, because it's a miscellaneous pile, essentially. First off, I got Kiki's Delivery Service. One of my favorite Studio Ghiblis. I will say with the case of the Steelbooks, they're like really plain. Like you have like the nice image in the front, and then you have just nothing in the back. At least in the I would say in the actual interior case, they have a scene of the movie in the back. I don't want to open up all the DVDs and stuff, and a pamphlet. And in terms of what I think about this movie, I think it's like a 10 out of 10 like Studio Ghibli movie. I love this movie. It's very slice of life, coming of age, very charming. That's to be expected of Studio Ghibli. And the other one I have on Steelbook is Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. At first, I was trying to see if it's or, but yeah, Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, which was the first, not the first, it was the second Miyazaki film. The first movie was a Lupin movie that he did before this original film. And I thought it was great. Not my personal favorite, but it was very, like, honestly, like, very well done for the time it came out, and the vision and the ambition. Like, I like, Studio Ghibli films are always great. These are the only ones I have, though, and that's the thing. I got these on the cheaper end, but that's the thing. Steelbooks, especially especially Studio Ghibli and anime films, they're pretty pricey. So that's why I only have those two on the Steelbook. Next, I would say I'm gonna go into the miscellaneous Blu-rays. I do have two more categories basically: miscellaneous Blu-rays and TV series, which are its own thing. First off is something I just got very recently: Ed Wood. This is I think Tim Burton's best film, as well as one of Johnny Depp's best better films. If you don't know, it's about the titular Ed Wood, who was a director in Hollywood who made these low budget, not very well made films, but he was very driven by his passion of the medium. It's a fantastic film. I think you can watch it on Disney Plus. It is a very funny but also very dramatic movie. Like, it hits you in the feels, and as someone who loves film and wants to try to make movies one day, like, this is a movie that really, like, is a perfect emotional roller coaster. Also, you got some fantastic actors. Martin Landau as Bela Lugosi is great. Johnny Depp, earlier in his career as Ed Wood, is fantastic, and the black and white aesthetic is very nice. I got this on Blu-ray because this is a Disney movie, as I said, on Disney Plus, Touchstone, and I don't think they're going to upgrade this to 4K. Because it wasn't really a successful movie when it came out. It got some awards, but as for the financial side, it wasn't really that big of a hit. Just have to get some water here for a second. But yeah, a huge recommendation for that movie. Here comes an odd one. This is also going to be on the underrated section, so I'm going to talk about it a bit more. And that is Bulletproof Monk. Now, you look at the case. What the heck is this? This is not a Blu-ray. And then you see DVD Blu-ray. This is such a weird... I have no idea why they did this. So, I remember I tried to order the Blu-ray of it, and you look inside. Yeah, you see the Blu-ray, then you see the DVD. Now, I remember years ago, I had the opportunity to get an authentic Blu-ray case like this of the movie, which was like this with the Blu-ray case. But I just got the DVD instead. The DVD case was awful. It looked very like, this is the original poster, but the DVD case I got was very generic looking. They changed the font, it changed how everything looked here to be more very schlocky. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna get the Blu-ray of it. And when I get the Blu-ray, it's in this weird DVD hybrid case, and all the special features are on the DVD, not on this Blu-ray. I think it's also not the best transfer. But regardless, I don't want to spend a lot more money on Bulletproof Monk, as much as I think it's a decent movie. Now, if you don't know what this movie is, it is, from what I heard, based off a comic book or graphic novel. It's about this guy, the titular Bulletproof Monk, who is immortal, who is trying to protect the scroll of power from this Nazi captain who's been chasing him for like all this time, and he's trying to find someone to take his place, which he runs into Seann William Scott. Which, you know what, I have to pause for a second, because I have mentioned earlier that I had a picture of myself with Seann William Scott when I was a kid. So I'm just going to pull this out for a second. And this is me when I was 8 years old, and that's Seann William Scott there. He came over to my mother's place. Long story short, he was a friend of a friend, basically, and he was in Ottawa at the time, so he decided to come over. We had dinner and everything. I remember I even asked him, like, what's the deal with Ice Age 3? Like, what's the plot? And he's like, I'm not gonna tell you, kid. It was great. It was a fun time. And also, this was one of these nostalgic movies I keep watching, because I was like, oh my god, I know this guy. He came over to my place, and it didn't do well. It was a very notable film that did not do well. In fact, the only relevancy it got lately is sorry, I had to drink some water. We talk too much, but yeah. Um, and the thing is, it only has got some relevancy over the years because of an infamous video where it's like the worst line in any movie, which is about the hot dog line that Seann William Scott talks about, which is completely taken out of context because no one has watched the movie. That's the thing. This movie no one has watched. And would I recommend it? I would actually say yes. It's a decent watch. Like if you're looking for this action like type of type of movie, you got some comedy. It's not as badly like it's actually not. It's kind of like decently well made. I like Seann William Scott. I think the problem is that this was a movie that wasn't really carried by the names. It was made by a first-time director. You got Chu Yun-fat, who isn't a huge star in America, and Seann William Scott was known for comedies. So him transitioning to more action was a bit of a weird diversion. And in general, it kind of fell into the sidelines of being a bit on the generic side. But honestly, it wasn't as bad. Like I really liked this, and I kind of wish more people got the chance to see it. Like it has some decent set pieces, and I think like the story has its hooks. I think the music's pretty good, and I think Seann William Scott deserved more from his career. I think he's an underrated actor. I think he had potential. He just kind of never got the chance to stood out. Also, if you didn't know, the Shining poster that was hanging up there had to be moved over there. It's falling down. Next up is Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Now, the reason why I have these miscellaneous, Ed Wood is going to be on the actual pile. Bulletproof Monk will stick out like a sore thumb with the weird DVD case. And Diary of a Wimpy Kid here is this weird Cheesiest edition, which is like a thick case. It has a... Okay, I didn't notice this. There's like a sticker on here. But it has this like book thing that is the case. So I'm going to actually open this up. So this is interesting. Now, as for what I think about the Diary of a Wimpy Kid film, I thought it's decent. Like, I remember the books. Oh, yeah, but, like, look at this. This is, like, okay, this is bizarre. It has, like, a little... There's, like, a few pages here of, like, of one of the books, which is bizarre. But, yeah. As for the movie itself, it's okay. I remember the books a lot. And when the movie came out, it was definitely hyped up. Also, there's a digital copy which I can't use. It's a DVD version. And I actually think the first movie is probably the best of the movies that they did, mainly because it felt the most in spirit. The other movies kind of did this really ridiculous thing with Holly Hills and how she's in love with Greg, which doesn't make sense. Like, if you read the books, that's not the point of the character. But I think it was, like, decent for what it was. Like, yeah, like, it's not exactly, like, amazing. Wow, this is the most... this is going to be one of the best coming-of-age movies of all time. But it's, like, it was a fun, like, adaptation. It's, like, it was, like, it was a weird time for that series. Like... let's try to make this movie adaptation, and we're going to try to make as much movies as we can before the actors get old and everything. Devin Bostic, as Roderick, though, you can never go wrong. But yeah, I can't put this in the regular pile because it's very... Look at this case. I can't. It's too thick. Just a second. All right. This is the last of these miscellaneous piles because, again, thick case. Also, I don't think it deserves to be on the same pile as the others. And that is the Complete Metropolis, which is the 1927 German sci-fi classic. This is by Kino, which is the restored footage that they found. There's still a bit of footage that we haven't found in this movie to this day. But it looks fantastic. Like, I can't believe the effects for this movie for 1927. And for a German film, though, in fact, which, their economy wasn't that good after World War I. And, yeah, like, I don't really want to go into it too much because I think a lot of people who know film know about Metropolis. It's also a bit of a complicated plot. Like, a lot happens, but generally it's about, social class and, it's like a very thematic movie. And it has a lot of allegories of the Bible and everything. There's a lot that happens in this movie, and it's not exactly a super rewatchable film. It's very long. It's like almost, it's like 2.5 hours, but it's just so well done. It's it's mind blowing. Like I don't know, like I heard there's been different adaptations. I know there's an anime manga version. There was apparently a series that they were trying to develop, but got canceled. But honestly, nothing can really top off this original film. And honestly, people should check it out purely for the production. Like for 1927, you have to remind yourself, this is not in the 50s, not even the 60s. This is 1927, black and white, and it looks fantastic. It looks like it was way too ahead of its time, and I am very happy I got the Kino version. This is from my late grandfather's collection. One of the few movies I took from the collection, and I'm very happy to have it here because it's just amazing. Like it is, like I know I have a lot of modern movies, a lot of mediocre movies here, but there's also movies that are just so high from their scale, and I had to collect them. All right, last but not least, the TV series, which I already have for you. First off, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. I got this mainly. I don't know why they really. I think this is to tie in with the very not very Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers movie that came out a year ago. I think that's why they released this as a Blu-ray. And my history with this is that when I was a kid, I think my grandmother had all three VHS tapes of the series because back then in the 90s, the VHSs cannot put all the episodes on the tape, so they only give you 2 episodes per tape, which is kind of really like scammy these days. But now, nowadays everything's all included. So I remember I watched all 6 of those episodes, and that's the thing. This has 65 episodes. So I only watched a very small fraction of it. So and I remember loving those episodes. So I was like, okay, I needed to pick this up. Also to support the actual series, not the crap. It's like that movie. It had nothing to do with the original series. It was Lonely Planet nonsense. But regardless, now watching the entire series, how has it aged up? It actually holds up really well. Like the animation, and as like for like a kid, like a kid series, it's really well done. There's some nice stuff. Obviously the characters are memorable. The honestly now the thing with this Blu-ray case is that the episodes are out of order. There's a 5-part pilot for the series that is in the middle of how these movies are laid out. Like there are a lot of episodes per disc, and again they're all out of order. But I was gonna say that 5-part pilot that they did when for the initial air from the show, that could have been its own movie. That was what I was hoping for that new movie to be, but it became something else. Overall, Chip and Dale, like I think there's not much. I'm not gonna go into the whole thing of oh my god, like look at these, this character or this episode. Generally speaking, very good kids animation. Kids series, better than a lot of crap that they put out these days. Moving ahead, do you really want to taste it? Yeah, Peacemaker. Now here's the thing with these series. I don't collect a lot of TV series to begin with because I would rather have the entire show if I love it. And the problem is that they tend to be very expensive. And I don't want to just pick off a season and have to get a lot of seasons. Now, with the case of Chip and Dale, that was a complete series, so I had to pick it up. And I'm very nostalgic of that show. With the case of Peacemaker, yes, there's been a second season confirmed. It's going to take a while to get here, though. And yeah, it's going to take forever. So you know what? At this point, I may as well just get the first season on Blu-ray. And I mean, I don't really need to go in depth with Peacemaker. A lot of people, know about the show. It's been very, popular. The intro has been very memed about, very popular. Peacemaker's in Mortal Kombat now. This is, I think, one of the best, superhero shows that they have done, for streaming and everything. And, yeah, no, it's a shame that the old DCEU had to, basically die. because I actually think like this is, if they had more quality like this content wise, I think it would have still been around. Um, and honestly, yeah, and James Gunn, writing everything was, really helped this show a lot. It's well done. It's a well done series, and I can't wait for the second season. And last to talk about again, I don't want to try to go into everything of shows and stuff because like I don't want to go, oh, this is my favorite episode or these are my favorite characters. Now this one actually is on top of the shelf back over here, the special shelf, and that is the Disastrous Life of Saiki K season one. Now this is probably one of the more underrated animes. It is on Netflix. Netflix did do a revival series that wasn't really good. But overall, it's not exactly really popular in the anime. Like yeah, obviously if people love anime, they probably know this series. But they're not the biggest fan of it. Because it's definitely like its own thing. And now you might say, okay, then why the heck do you have this? Or if I'm not so much of an anime guy, I mean, I have the anime movies, but not series. And that's because I got into it from my cousin. And what I love about this show is just that it was if you don't know the premise you have like this guy, Saiki, who has these extraordinary powers. He's practically like super, he has so many powers and they're all, he can do anything. But this is not a superhero show. This is just a coming of age school show in these misadventures. And there's no fighting. There's barely any fighting. And he doesn't want to do anything. He just wants to be normal. And he's surrounded by all these weird characters that are from a typical anime series. And that's the thing. This movie is very tongue-in-cheek with its humor. Not movie, this show, very tongue-in-cheek with its humor. It's essentially a satire towards anime while being an anime itself. And that's why I love it. And they only have the first season on Blu-ray. And that's because it's the only season to be dubbed by an actual officially dubbed. Season 2 was never given a dub. I think because the providers were different, and the Netflix revival series did have a dub, but it was a different voice actors. Also, Netflix is not exactly known for putting out all their stuff on physical media. So generally speaking, that's why I have it. Have the entire first season here on Blu-ray. And I absolutely love this series. I remember dressing up as, I think, Kaido. He's my favorite character in this show. And honestly, like if you love anime, if you want something that's a bit on the fun end, and something that you can put like that's not to be taken seriously. You just want good jokes and likable characters. Yeah, I recommend this. I think people really sleep on this series, and I don't know if we're ever going to get another revival or continuation of the Netflix, reboot that they did. Regardless, though, yeah, I love it, and that's why it's always up on that shelf up there. And that's going to be about it for today. But yeah, all the Blu-rays are done. Now we're going to get into the 4Ks, which is going to take a little while. Also, I will also add, if I'm going to add any movies in between the videos that I make, I will put a short about the movie itself. Particularly, there is a movie that I am trying to pick up next month on DVD. I will go into it a bit later when I make the short, but obviously it's going to be late into the edition, and I don't want to break up the flow, so I'm going to put a short if there's any new additions to the collection. So that's sort of the update on that. Regardless, thank you for watching, and I can't wait to see you next week when I get into the 4Ks of the collection. Hope you have a nice day.